Alright, so tonight we're going to do a real quick oil change on a 2016 Chrysler 200C. It's a pretty easy oil change. I thought I would just put it on YouTube in case anybody was wondering how to do that. So let's go ahead and do it. Okay, so once you have it all up in the air, like so, I've got the parking brake on. I have 2 blocks behind the tires. Now let me show you how you jack this up safely. Get my flashlight here. This is a safer way, I think. So now whatever it says, this is not something you can jack on. Don't jack on this brace right here, which is made of aluminum. You don't want to do that. So there's actual jack points right there on all 4 points of the car. You can see them right up there. You jack on those. Don't jack on this, you jack on those. Okay. Once you have it lifted in the air, leave your jacks in place, put stands underneath of it, like so. Make sure your stands are as high as they'll go. That way it doesn't have too far to fall if something happens. That way you don't come out with your face looking like a pancake. Now, Chrysler's made this real easy to do. So there's this felt skid plate here. And what you're going to do is you find this thing that says oil drain on it. It's a little plastic cover right here. And in the middle of it there is a place for a flathead screwdriver. We're going to use some good old American currency. Dollar coin works perfect. Look, you put it in there. Wow. It even holds it. How clever. And then you turn that counterclockwise, lefty-loosey, and then it falls open, which exposes your bolt for your oil drain, which is right here. This is after the car's been warmed up. You want the car to be nice and hot when you do this. Just make sure you don't get any hot oil on you, but this feels like a 13 millimeter. So right here, don't touch any other bolts. Right here at the back, you can clearly tell that that's a drain pan because it is. Alright, got our 13 millimeter socket. Hopefully I'm right. This will be the first oil change on this car. It only has about 5,000 miles on it. We'll be changing it with Mobil 1, fully synthetic. Make sure you get your drain pan, obviously. Put this right here, so you can see. If you can't see, I'm sorry. Yeah, so it is a 13 millimeter. Just give it a few light bumps with your hand and it should come loose. Need a better position here. Alright, it's gonna need a little bit of encouragement. When in doubt, hammer it out. Alright. Now we need to move this. Put you back here. What I like to do is unscrew this all the way until I can feel the thread slipping, and keep the oil in so I don't burn my hell out of my hand. Then what I'll do is I'll let the bolt fall into the oil and try to get my hand out of the way as soon as possible. But seeing as I don't have a lift and this is kind of awkward, I have to be kind of slick about it. I'll just pull the bolt out. Now this car calls for 6 quarts of 5W20 as one of the recommended weights. I think you can actually run a different kind of weight in it if you would like, and I'm not 100% sure of what that is. So I'll go ahead and let this drain and we'll clean this bolt off. I'll show you how to get to the oil filter. Now I may just be real picky about stuff, but I always like to clean off the oil pan bolt really good. You don't want to stick it back in there with too much oil on it. Some oil on the gasket's good. You just don't want the whole thing to be oily. Why is that? Because, well, then it's not shiny. Who wants a not so shiny oil pan bolt? Okay, so now this one differs a bit from the I think they had a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder version of the 200C. I can't be 100% on that, but I think I'm right. And the oil filter for the 2.4 will actually be on the bottom of the car, and you can access it through a panel just like the oil pan bolt. But for the 3.6 V6 VVT, which stands for variable valve timing, makes it go real fast. Not really, let's be real. You take this little thing off right there just by simply turning it left, and the oil filter is actually a cartridge style on the top of the motor, and it is right here. And it takes a, I think it's a 15/16. Maybe not. No, that's right, yeah, 15/16. So you can see that. Now be careful when you do this, because let me show you one more time. The housing is actually made out of composite plastic, I'm sorry. And you don't really want to put like an impact or anything on that. You just want to use just your own strength. Make sure that the socket is on there really good. Guess I already took the oil out of the car. So I'm a real big fan of Mobil 1. I have a Porsche. I run Mobil 1 in it, and it comes from the factory with Mobil 1. I've ran Mobil 1 and everything. I'm sure a lot of you out there are like, oh, Mobil 1 sucks. Well, whatever. I like it. I feel like if it's good enough for Porsche to come out of the factory with, they're not wanting to warranty hundreds of thousands of dollars in motors. It might be decent. Now, CarQuest filters, it's the only one I could get at the time, and we're in a hurry, so that's what we got. So take 6 quarts. I'm putting 5W20 in it. Go ahead and finish taking the oil filter all the way off. And there's your oil filter. This is a good time if you've got a high mileage car, which they have these cartridge filters, and you can actually, unlike a screw-on filter, you can actually pick through the filter itself and check it for metal shavings. If you've got a lot of metal shavings, you might have an underlying problem, such as nothing good. But some metal shavings are normal. You just don't want to see like large chunks of metal. And I'm not really seeing anything, so you just pull that out like so and clean up the housing as good as possible. The nice thing about these upright cartridges is you don't have to unscrew a hot oil filter and get oil all over yourself. So just take the new one, pop it right back in there, take a little bit of the old oil around the rim, just get enough on your finger, and oil this little gasket like so. It's just a little, like, it's a nipple gasket. Nipple. And then you just put it back in. Make sure you don't cross thread this. Make sure you start it by hand before you start to torque it down with the wrench. Because it is a composite plastic, and that stuff tends to break easily. And wait for it to seat, and just barely snug it up. It doesn't have to be real tight, because you've got that gasket in there, and it's not gonna leak. Just make sure you get it all the way down. You can actually look through the side and see if it's all the way sealed. Clean up any mess you got from doing that. And this is when you can go back under the car and make sure that everything's done draining. So what I like to do is, I like to catch the last little bit of oil up, clean the area up as good as I can with the gasket seat. Make sure that your gasket has a little bit of oil on it, and then just simply stick it back in. And get your 13 millimeter. I really hope this camera can see. Oh well. Get your 13 millimeter and then just snug it up. They don't need to be real tight. Trust me. So, out of the way. These are good old dollar coins. Put this back together. It won't take long. Back up real quick. Take a look in there. As you can see, the oil is not leaking out of the oil pan bolt. So you want to make sure of that. So we're good. Okay, so now we'll do the oil level check. Put these jack stands back. Alright, so to check the oil, like I said, make sure it's on level ground. New oil, especially synthetic, can be hard to see on a dipstick. So it's good to have good light. We're still low, even without pumping it into the filter yet. We're definitely still low, so need to add more. We'll give that a second to drain down. Okay, so the way that the Chryslers do things, they have a safe zone. So as long as you're in between those marks of here and here, you should be good. And okay, once you've let it run for a minute, let everything filter back down to the oil pan, and we'll check the oil one more time. Make sure we don't have to add any. The reason you do this is, especially with the cartridge type oil filters, is it sucks up about a half of a quart or quarter of a quart or whatever, depending on the size of the oil filter. So you may have to add some oil. Okay, so now we're longer in the safe zone. We're below it by quite a bit, so we need to add some. I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of it, which would put me right at 6 quarts. See where we're at now. So we're inside the safe zone, so we're good to go. Now after driving it for a day or so, it doesn't hurt to check the oil one more time, just to make sure. Okay, so after you're all said and done, everything's put back together, you need to set the reset the oil maintenance life indicator. Oh my God, look at that spider. Look at that gnarly thing. That is one wicked looking spider. Anyhow. So how you do that is without turning on the car, you press the start to turn on the dash and accessory. And you navigate through the screen, and what you're looking for is, I think, the vehicle information. Vehicle info. And then you use the left and right arrows to navigate the oil life. The oil life is at 0%, and then you hit the OK and hold it until it says 100% again. And there it is, 100%, one more time.